Good evening, everyone. This is a meeting of the Lakeville Conservation Commission. Today is May 25th, 2021. My name is Bob Bouchard. I'm the conservation agent. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Joe is absent. Nancy,
Here.
Mark,
Present.
John,
Here.
Josh,
Here.
and myself. Also, anyone who's attending who wishes to be heard later, please identify yourself, engineers, contractors, owners, abutters. I see a few familiar faces.
Mark Davis.
Serious feedback here.
Hey Bob, can I jump in real quick?
Sure.
For the two guys in the same room, can you guys just get on one computer? Because that's where we're getting the feedback from. If your computers are both playing volume, it's going to come through each other's mics. So if one of you could leave the meeting, that should solve our issue.
Alan, Julie Smith, and Tom Rowe, the engineer.
I'm the civil engineer who did all this design work.
Okay. How do you do?
Good.
Pleasure meeting you.
Same here.
See you.
Someone else.
Good evening, Mark Dibb with Cape and Islands for the 2 Bedford Ave project.
How do you do?
Good.
Good. And
Scott Turner with Environmental Partners.
Brittany Gessner with VHB.
all right, are we missing anyone?
Got them all.
Okay, good. All right, let's continue. This open meeting of the Lakeville Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the then state of emergency in the Commonwealth and as a result of the outbreak of the virus. Please note that the meeting is being recorded and that some attendees are participating by video conference. Accordingly, beware that other individuals may be able to see you, and take care not to screen share your computer. I will introduce each speaker on the agenda. After they have concluded their remarks, I will go down the line of members, inviting each by name to vote, to comment and to vote. Please hold until you are called and mute your phone or computer when speaking. Please speak clearly and wait until you are called on and state your name before speaking. After all members have spoken, I will allow public comment. All right, let's move on then. First item on the agenda, which I think is just a continuation. This is LeBaron Hills. Am I correct, Nancy? We don't have anything new to report. You're muted.
I think it's wrong on the agenda. It says extension of order of conditions. I just printed off my agenda and I already lost it, but I know it didn't say amended ORAD,
Oh,
right?
okay. Yep,
Okay, so that's what we're talking about, right? They're not asking for anything else.
nothing else, no.
Okay, no, they've asked for a continuance. So I'll make a motion to continue. Is our next meeting June 8th?
That's the next date, yes.
All right, so I make a motion to continue LeBaron till June 8th at 7 p.m.
Second.
Okay. Nancy, did you speak with Tim McGuire out of Goddard?
Yes.
All
Well,
right,
email. There've been emails back and forth, and I think everybody's probably seen Brad Holmes. He's the wetland scientist.
yes.
So has everybody seen his memo?
Yes. Yep.
So I think they need to respond to it.
Okay, so that's where we stand.
That's what we're waiting for.
All right.
Yep.
Just to make sure that's clear to everyone.
Yep.
All right, good. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor then? Nancy,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
and myself, aye. So the motion carries. Continue. Next on the agenda, continuation of the notice of intent for 2 Bedford Street by Cape and Islands Engineering. And I understand we have 2 representatives.
Just Mark Dibb for tonight,
okay.
representing 2 Bedford Street. So after the last meeting that Raul attended, we considered additional comments from the board and the peer review. I'm gonna share my screen here. So what we did was to add some additional treatment to some areas on site. One was this area behind the building, and to the left of the building, we added a deep sump catch basin and storm scepter proprietary treatment unit, which gives a significant increase to TSS removal for that area of development. A portion of it is redevelopment, a portion of it's new pavement, as well as I'll move and then wait a second here. In front of the site, we revised these shallow catch basins into larger deep sump catch basins to, again, provide further TSS removal, tied them together through manholes, as well as then added another treatment unit prior to discharge. So we significantly added TSS removal to a very significant portion of the actual redevelopment of the project. As well, we just coordinated some final revisions to manholes and details, and we feel we have answered the questions by the peer review, and that's essentially it. We resubmitted some plans to the town, and I'll take any further questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you. I think probably best to hear from our consultant, Scott.
Thanks, Bob. I took a look at the plans. I think that I agree with everything that Mark said. I think that the addition of catch basins and storm scepters definitely help with TSS removal. In fact, the site is very close to complying with the new development standards. There are some areas that still comply with the redevelopment standards only, but I'm definitely feel like the project is in a much better place from a water quality perspective. And I issued a letter dated May 20th, closing out essentially all the comments. The only thing that was outstanding was they should sign the illicit discharge statement. That's paperwork as far as I'm concerned, because the design as proposed does not show an illicit discharge from the site. But for sake of completion, I would recommend that they sign that piece of paperwork, which in my opinion is a simple condition. So I'm certainly I'm fine with what they provided and happy with how the project has evolved.
Good. Thank you for your help with that. Do we have any additional comments from Mr. Dibb? You muted. All right. I guess there are none. What about other members of the commission? Do we have any comments on these issues or anything other we haven't touched on? Mark?
Excuse me. The only thing that I'd like to mention, I know I mentioned it when Raul was representing the property. You do need to go through the planning board for site plan review. And then if the Conservation Commission were to approve, that it would be sort of subject to that as well, so that the final plan of record would show continuity throughout the town's records.
Correct, understood. Yes, we definitely need planning board approval.
So I have no further comments, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else have a comment? On either side? No? Oh, I guess we've come far enough then. It's time for a vote. So do I hear a motion?
Nancy, you're muted.
Sorry, I keep forgetting that part. I make a motion that we close the hearing and issue our standard order of conditions for before construction, during construction, and additionally, that we receive a signed illicit discharge statement prior to construction for consistency with Massachusetts stormwater management standards, and that any changes by the planning board are subject to review by the Conservation Commission for additional conditions or an amended order of conditions if there are that many changes.
Okay,
Second it.
we have a motion and a second. Any other comments or discussion? We're all good? Okay, let's take a roll call then. Nancy,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
myself, aye. So the motion carries. Sir, you're good to go.
Great, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. All right, then, moving along, our next issue is, excuse me, not issue, our next hearing is an NOI for 76 Lakeside Ave. And who's here? Is it?
Alan Smith, Julie Smith, as well as Tom Rowe, the engineer for the project.
How you do?
Doing well, how are you?
Good. You just, you have a presentation you'd like to, or do you have any plans you'd like to show?
Yeah, we got a 5-sheet set. Can you see it?
No.
We received the set, but
I sent you the hard copy and also emailed you the PDF of the plan.
yeah,
Yes, we have a
received
hard
them.
copy.
We just didn't know if you wanted to present the plan and talk about it on your
I've spent so
screen.
much
or-
time on it, I pretty much have the whole thing memorized anyway.
Thank you.
Okay. The members of the commission have any comments? Anything you want to like to discuss?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I didn't have time to pick up my packet. And I've looked at everything else online, but I don't know what this is. I would like it explained.
Okay.
All right. The property is on a lake, and right now, currently, the system that they have two tanks, a septic tank and a PC that are both made out of concrete, and they're very deep in the ground for some reason. I don't know why they did that, but the plumbing coming out of the house is not that deep. And then what they have is they pump it up quite a ways up the driveway to currently it's a soil absorption system made of a series of concrete chambers.
Ah, there it is.
I did the inspection on it, and it was actually it was filled right to the top with water. So I did the design, and this is a pretty unusual lot in that it's only like 50 feet wide, but it's a little over 1,000 feet long. So it was a little tough to get everything to fit in. So what we plan to do is We're going to not use the existing septic tank and PC because they're very old anyway. So what we're going to do is we're going to use, and since it's such a tight fit and there's trees on the side of the property, getting a truck in there to set a new concrete tank would be difficult, if not impossible. So anyway, we decided to go with a plastic septic tank, which the DEP has approved. So we're going to use a plastic septic tank and also a plastic pump chamber. And the approval letter from the DEP says you have to put concrete around it, which is shown in the detail. So the tanks don't move. Like when you pump out the septic tank, it won't move. And these plans have all been checked and actually approved by the Board of Health. In fact, they just called me earlier today, oddly enough, to say that they've gone through everything. I made the different changes that they wanted, and they were all set with it. So as I said, the tanks that are in the ground now, the concrete septic tank and PC, are going to be abandoned when the time comes to install the new system. They're going to be pumped out, punch a hole in the bottom of the tanks, fill them full of sand, and leave them there. And then the new tanks, the new plastic ones, are going to be easier to get in place because you can actually drag them along the ground through the trees and all that if need be. And then the concrete, the neighbor said we can use his yard and get in there with a concrete mixer and just use a couple of chutes and get the concrete in there as needed. And then it's going to be a force main, and the soil absorption system is going to be quite a ways up the driveway and near where the.
Can you tell, I mean, you're getting into a lot of detail. Can you tell me, through you, Mr. Chair, how close this work is to the water? I can't tell on this.
Well, on the page, let's see, let's scroll to page 2. Yeah, on page 2, it shows the entire site. So the only work that's going to be occurring down close to the water is the tank replacement, and that's it. And you can see the house right there. So you can see all the CAD details with the soil absorption system. So we're well over 100 feet away from anybody's well. In the new system is going to be even further away from the pond than the existing system, which the Board of Health liked that. And as I said, the entire existing system is going to be abandoned. And so one side of the soil absorption system, the neighbor was nice enough to let us grade onto their property. And then the other side, we have it's going to be a retaining wall of varying heights. And so it's going to accommodate the soil. In other words, obviously the soil goes up and down as you go up the driveway. So the wall is also going to fluctuate.
So is any work occurring on the front side of the house, between the front of the house and the pond?
As I said, the only work that's going to be occurring between the house and the pond is the tank replacement, the new.
Because it's so little. Can you blow it up a little bit?
And that's inside the 100-foot buffer zone, am I correct?
Yes.
Because it's not plotted on the plan.
I know the buffer line is on there. It's maybe just so small you can't see it, but it's on there.
Be.
I think my surveyor, he used the edge of the pond and then he offset it 100 feet. You could probably see it easier if you looked at the the hard copies of the plans. But it is on there though. So that's the only work that's being done close to the pond is the tank replacement. And the whole pond out here is a priority habitat. So what I did just to kind of cover all the bases is I filed with Mesa, and they actually got back to me and they said, nope, you're all set. You don't have to file with us. In fact, they've already returned his check because like I said, the entire pond was in a priority habitat, but the line came up onto the land. So as I said, they reviewed the file and they said, nope, you don't have to file with us. But like I said, I wanted to do.
That's natural heritage. Are you talking about natural heritage responded to you?
Mesa, Massachusetts Endangered Species Act. Which is, yes, natural heritage. Yes, you can call it that.
So you got a letter from Natural Heritage?
Yes. And they returned his check as well.
All right. Did we receive a copy of that?
No,
Mr. Chairman?
no, not that I've seen.
Can you see that?
Yes, much better. Thank you.
This is the letter from Mesa.
What was that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
This is the letter from the Division of Marine Fisheries and Wildlife.
Okay, I don't think we've seen a copy. Could you forward that, a copy of that to my office?
Certainly.
All right, thank you. Nancy, did you have something else?
Yeah, my question isn't answered about in feet. What is the closest to the pond? I know you're within 100, is it 25 feet? Is it 50 feet? And I don't see a siltation barrier.
Yeah, there's a note down there.
Okay.
See detail, but it's a
Oh, I
lot,
see it. I see it.
runs right in front of that
It's
wall.
difficult to see, but it
Okay.
is there. There's a siltation fence. And a lot of the towns now, they don't like those staked hay bales anymore because they actually kind of end up making more of a mess. So they're kind of more of a hindrance than a help. So a lot of these towns, they like these the silt sock with the stake and the silt fence in front of it. So that's what I've been using. And like I said,
Okay, that's excellent. That looks very good to me.
And
so the closest work that's going to be occurring to the pond is I think I measured in AutoCAD, and from memory, I think it was about 70 feet.
Okay.
And Chairman Bouchard, I apologize. I saw you on the property today and I didn't get out to
Did you?
opportunity to chat with you. But from about where you were standing, the proposed new tanks are like probably 7 or 8 feet off of that, off the corner of the deck.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I figured, looking at the plan and the area that's out there. It's pretty narrow. It's going to be a tough site to access.
Yeah, well, that's why we're using the plastic tanks, and you can see that the new tanks, the proposed tanks, are actually further away from the pond than the existing tanks.
Yeah.
The reason there's like a almost looked like an offset line around it. That's going to be the concrete. So in other words, the tanks, when it comes time to install them, they're going to install them at the proper elevation. So everything is going to come out of the house via gravity into the septic tank. Then it's going to flow, the effluent will flow via gravity into the PC, and then it'll pump it by the FM line. There's force main, and then that'll pump it up to the soil absorption system. And as I said, the Board of Health agent, Ed Cullen, he liked it because the new soil absorption system is even further away from the pond than the existing one, and also the tanks are even further away from the pond than the existing ones. And these plastic tanks, they're obviously watertight and all of that, so you don't have to worry about any leakage. Whereas he said, Ed Cullen says he doesn't like these old concrete tanks because he says over time they crack and they leak, so there's probably effluent entering the pond. And he said that, he's the one that said, we definitely cannot reuse those concrete tanks because they're so old, and also they're very deep in the ground. But as I said, my new tanks will not be that deep, so they'll be more accessible.
Do you anticipate having to remove any additional either structures or trees in order to have access to do the work?
No, that's why we use the plastic tanks. In other words, they're pretty heavy. I mean,
You can only get so close still.
you could drag it along the ground with a small mini excavator.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we went with the plastic, because like I said, there's no way you can get the truck in there to set the concrete tank just because of where it's located.
Yeah, I think I've been out there a few times, and I think the first time I went out there was an estimate that 100 trees would have to be removed in order to do this work. Obviously, that's no longer the case. At least I hope so.
No, I don't see there being any trees removed, because in other words, his neighbor said that we can utilize his driveway, which actually kind of parallels his property line, so we'll be able to much closer to the target.
Yeah, that was my understanding, and it's a little confusing when you're coming down the driveway, which way to turn. Just whether or not you're in the right location or not. Someone else have a question? Mark?
Overall, I think it's a pretty good plan, and as the board always does, like septic upgrades are very good for the town. So I'm in support of this.
All right, good. And John?
Same. Anytime we can, especially this close to the pond, anytime we can have an upgraded septic, it's a good thing.
Yeah, all right, good. And Josh,
No, nothing from me.
All right, thanks. And Nancy, you're all set as well?
Yep, yeah, I am. I apologize. I didn't have a chance to look at it, so I'm just trying to, actually, I think I have seen it. This must have, maybe we got this last Thursday and I saw a very similar plan.
Yeah, we've had it for a while.
Okay, so I guess I saw it before. I just didn't look at it today. It's an NOI, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Then I make a motion that we close the hearing, issue our standard order of conditions with the additional condition that we receive the letter from Natural Heritage prior to issuing the order.
All right, good.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? No, we're all good. All right, then. All those in favor, Nancy,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
and I say aye. So the motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. All right, next on the agenda is South Coast Rail. We have to make a correction on the agenda. This is for an RDA. And the representative is Tom Lewis from Tech, but I don't see him present.
I'm here, just I don't have video. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
all right. Good, I'm glad you could make it.
Yeah, sorry, I was just got out of another hearing, so.
That's
good
okay.
timing.
You need
Good
a minute to
timing.
catch up?
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for having me. Just as quick background. So railroads in Massachusetts, when they make an herbicide application, they do the work under the rights of way regulation, which is administered by the Department of Agricultural Resources. So as part of that regulation, they're required to have a vegetation management plan. It's a 5-year document. And the most recent one expired at the end of last year. So they're in the process of renewing the new VMP. And also as part of that, we have to go to every municipality and get a confirmation of the resource areas for the wetlands and water supplies that we show on the maps. So that's why I'm here tonight. I don't know if you've had a chance to see the maps, but there's actually 3 different lines in Lakeville. The one we call the Fall River line and the New Bedford line. Obviously, each goes to its own namesake community. And then there's the Middleborough line that goes from Taunton to Middleborough and just clips that upper corner of Lakeville. So I guess I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Yeah, they're good looking maps.
Thank you.
So do we have any questions? Mark?
Has anything changed in the application that you will be doing compared to what's proposed in the old approved application? Meaning a different herbicide?
As far as the work itself goes?
No, assuming the limit of work is the same.
The herbicides do change.
Go ahead.
The herbicides do change, and that actually, you get that in the yearly operational plan. So you should have received that about a month ago, and that the spring you get a yearly operational plan, and there's a 45-day period. So anybody has the opportunity. That details the specific herbicides and concentrations that are going to be used each year. So they do change. One thing that I can tell you is anytime they're making an application in a buffer zone or other sensitive area, they have to use products that are specifically designed for those areas. They've been shown not to travel, and so they can't use any other products other than what the state has listed for those sensitive areas. But you should have that somewhere in your office. You should have that plan.
And Bob, did we receive that?
Yes, we did.
Okay. And to your other point, did the limits of work change from the original application?
Since the last go around, no. And
Okay.
I'm out there at least once a year. The last time I was out on that line was in December. And I did re-review the water supply resources on Mass GIS. And for both wetlands and water supply, I did not note any changes.
Okay, so this sounds to me, Mr. Chair, like it was basically a housekeeping thing to let them do what they need to do, and just we need to be kept in the loop.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Anyone else have any questions or observations? No, I see this as a good thing.
So it's two issues. It's an extension of an order of conditions, and it's a RDA also, right?
Yes, primarily it's an RDA.
Well, if I could just address that. There's no order of conditions because the work is actually regulated by the Department of Ag.
Okay.
So it's really just for the boundary delineations to confirm that. And then the Department of Ag basically has their own entire set of work rules and orders that we have to follow.
Okay. All right.
Ready for a motion?
I think we are.
All right, I make a motion that we issue a negative determination for the RDA with negative number 3 for work in the buffer zone, number 5 for exempt activity in the riverfront. And in addition, we will check 2A confirming the accuracy of the resource boundaries.
All right. And I think that's what you proposed, right, Tom?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And Mark?
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor, Nancy,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Josh,
Aye.
and myself. Motion carries.
Hey, thank
All right.
you.
You're welcome. Thanks.
Have a good night.
You also.
Too. All right. Moment you all been waiting for. We'd like to discuss Lakeville Hospital, the SWIP report. So who wants to lead off on that?
Up to you, Scott. Do you want me to go, or do you want to?
I'll kick it off. So we received a stormwater pollution prevention plan, otherwise known as a SWIP, last week. It was put together by VHB in regards to the Lakeville Hospital redevelopment project. I spoke with Nancy the end of last week. She asked me to read through it, consistent with the conditions that were issued as part of the Lakeville Hospital project. I took a look at it. I developed a letter, sent it off this afternoon, but prior to that, met with Brittany and Bob to discuss it, and there was another person from VHB on the line as well. So just to give you an overview as to what the SWIP is and why it's required. So under the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, under the construction general permit, any project that clears an acre of land is required to prepare a stormwater pollution prevention plan, is required to file a notice of intent with the EPA. It's different. That's different than a notice of intent that's filed under the Wetlands Protection Act. The SWIP is, and that's required to be done within 2 weeks prior to construction. As part of the conditions for the Lakeville Hospital project, we requested that the SWIP be prepared, I think it was 3 weeks or maybe a month before, to give you a chance to review it. The SWIP is the way SWIP is envisioned by EPA is that it is a living document. It is a tool that is supposed to be used by the applicant and the applicant's contractor to manage erosion and sedimentation control. So it's intended to be a manual that the contractor refers to on a regular basis, if not daily basis, when they are doing construction activities, and it really governs how they're going to manage erosion control and sedimentation control on the site. In other parts of the country, the SWIP and this regulation, the construction general permit, is enforced by EPA. So if you talk to a large corporation like a Walmart or Home Depot, you'll find that they've likely been fined for violations with the SWIP. In Massachusetts, they don't typically enforce for a reason that is unknown to me, possibly because development in New England typically isn't on the same scale as in other parts of the country, simply because we don't have as much land. But in my opinion, it's important for the contractor to abide by the conditions of the SWIP, to protect the wetlands resources around the property, to prevent erosion and sedimentation from tracking off site, and also to manage dust control, to protect the butters. And we know that they're sensitive to this project. I took a look at the SWIP, put together a letter. I had roughly, I believe it was 8 or 9 comments of things that I thought needed a little bit more detail. Again, this document evolves as the project approaches construction and during construction. So I don't take my comments as thinking that this document is deficient or delinquent in anything. I asked a question regarding the schedule, and Brittany this morning explained that they have started doing some activities on site. So the schedule, she was going to check on the schedule, see if it needed to be revised. And again, that is standard practice for a SWIP. So if you see something change on the SWIP, the intent is the contractor or the consultant is to make those changes. Can be by hand, and just maintain a copy of it on site. I asked her to take a look into whether there were any special sections of documentations due to the existence of asbestos in the existing buildings. There is a section in the SWIP that refers to structures built or renovated prior to 1980. So just asked her to take a look in that and a look into that. I asked a question as to whether the notice of intent was actually filed with EPA. The filing, and again, you don't necessarily, when you file with EPA, you're not applying for a permit. You're filing for what they call coverage. Okay, it's basically registering your project, and it's done electronically. So I had seen some emails back or an email response from the filing system, but I hadn't seen a copy of the actual notice. And again, it's electronic, so you wouldn't necessarily see it. But she's going to look into that and has assured me that it has been registered and filed with EPA. There are some areas that are part of the SWIP that they require the senior people on the project to sign it. And the reason for that is EPA is trying to compel the folks who are in charge of the project to take the program seriously and make sure that the contractor takes it seriously and the contractor enforces the requirements of the SWIP. So I think that's important, just so that they are aware that these requirements exist. And Brittany assured me that she would pursue signing the SWIP. And then there were some areas, there were some attachments that required some, they asked if there were some additional correspondence to add. So, I asked about endangered species. They had submitted some maps. I'd asked about the training. Part of one of the requirements of the construction general permit is that they provide SWIP training so that folks that are working on the site understand what is expected on the SWIP, and in terms of erosion sedimentation control, cleaning the site, replacing hay bale or replacing erosion sedimentation control, those types of things. There were some attachments that did not have any information included, such as buffer documentation, chemical information, and underground injection well information as well. So again, I would expect the SWIP to evolve. It's done professionally and, you know, seems to be consistent with what I would expect that VHB would do and is appropriate for the project. I would expect that, you know, as time goes on, some of these items that we discussed may be edited, which is what is endorsed by EPA, but, you know, I think it looks good, and just want to make sure that it's enforced, because again, the enforcement or the, you know, acting consistent with the SWIP is important to protect wetlands, protect the neighbors, and protect Main Street as well. So I don't know, Brittany, if you have anything to add, or Bob, if there's anything else we discussed that I omitted today.
No, that's good. I think you hit all the major issues. Brittany, did you have?
No, we discussed all the items today, and I've reviewed the letter. I don't have any concerns with anything he listed. It's really just looking for a little bit of additional information. So we'll get some responses pulled together. We'll add those to the SWIP and share an updated version with you. But as Scott mentioned, you know, the SWIP is a living document. I encourage, it needs to be printed on site at all times. So I encourage contractors to always print it in a 3-ring binder so that it's easy for them to insert pages throughout. The intent is that when we originally prepare it, I never say, here's your completed SWIP, because it's never complete. It's a working document that's always evolving. So, you know, this is just one layer of evolving. We'll add some additional documentation as requested, and it'll continue to evolve every week, maybe even, you know, several days a week throughout construction. So I'll get a formal response to you guys on the letter. I'll add some documentation, get it over to you guys, but no real concerns about anything Scott mentioned.
All right, good, thank you. One question that's come up several times today, and I'll ask you to address it if you can. Site security. You do have a full-time security agent right now on the property?
I actually don't know. I would have to check with the owner and circle back. Apologies on that.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, if you can get back to us on that.
Okay.
All right, anyone else have questions?
I guess I would just have one more question. So we'll go ahead and get a response over to you guys as soon as possible. And then my question would be, at what point, so as Scott mentioned, we did already file the ENOI with the EPA, and that was at this point 2.5 weeks ago. So the 14-day waiting period has elapsed with the EPA. And so my question would be for you folks is, at what point, you know, would it be after this next submission? At what point would you deem it okay for them to go ahead and begin land disturbance of more than 1 acre?
A good question. From what I understand, the work that's being done right now doesn't involve any disturbance. Just vegetation is being cut to the ground surface, but no stumping is occurring.
Correct. Yep, because I've tried to make it very clear to them that they cannot disturb more than 1 acre of land first until that 14-day period elapsed with EPA, and secondly until we get your blessing. So at this point, it's really just once we get your blessing.
All right, I'm good with that. What about other members of the commission? Nancy?
I think that I'd like to see Brittany's response to Scott's letter, number 1, but I think what's very important is number 4 on Scott's letter, that the signatures. No one's listed on the subcontractor form, and all those signatures that have to happen to say that they're going to, you know, that's not something that's going to really evolve, right? That needs
we'll get those signatures. Yep, that'll be included in this resubmission. To clarify, as far as the subcontractor, admittedly, the SWIP form that we use is a template we've made internally. What happens on a lot of sites is we typically have 3 entities that we include. You have the owner, you have the general contractor, and then you have the site contractor who's a sub. For this project, the owner is acting as their own general contractor. So there's really just 2 entities. There's the owner and then the site contractor. So that third subcontractor, you know, placeholder, we don't have an entity to fill in for this project. And admittedly, since it's just a form, we didn't delete it out. If you'd like, I'd be happy to delete it out, but otherwise it would just remain empty. But we'll get the signatures from both the owner and the contractor on the certification page.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I also think that in our order of conditions, we need names and phone numbers on all those people that are doing like the wetland specialist. And I mean, I'd have to go back over our order of conditions, but
Actually, we talked about this afternoon.
okay,
In our phone call about contact information in between the town and the contractors.
Is that part of the order of conditions though? Or
yes,
It is.
yes.
And so the SWIP includes contact information, both for the owner and the contractor, 24-hour contact information. I'd be happy to submit to you, I guess, names of consultants on the project. I would probably submit that separately since that's a little bit separate from the SWIP.
Right, it is separate from the SWIP, but it's in our order of conditions, so that you said what else needs to be done before you can start, and I would think that's important.
Okay.
Especially who's overseeing the wetlands.
Okay, we can get you that information. At this point, the wetland work likely won't happen for quite some time, but we can get you that information.
God, did I see
It
your
would
hand?
likely be our wetland scientist who prepared the NOI.
Okay, I'm good.
All right. Other questions?
I have one.
Oh, Mark, go ahead.
So at this point, Brittany's going to provide us with a certification signed by the owner and the contractor.
Yep.
And you'll also provide the commission with some contact information for when the project proceeds for anybody related to any wetlands stuff.
Yep, we can include, and we'll also include the info for the licensed site professional as well, because they'll be on there on site at the same time as well.
And so just to be clear, are we, the Conservation Commission, wanting or needing anything else related to the SWIP for them to proceed to disturb more than an acre beyond that stuff that I just mentioned? And I think it's just to Brittany's point, the 2 weeks is up. If we get that information and Bob is satisfied that we've received it, can they proceed, or do we need to go to another meeting? It seems like if the chairman receives it and as the agent, he's satisfied that all those items have been obtained, can he then give them the go ahead?
That's my understanding. That's my understanding, that once we receive the material, if I'm satisfied with it, then we can proceed. It doesn't require another meeting or anything like that.
But, okay, I just want to make clear, so when we leave tonight, that everybody's on the same page and there's no surprises and that we're not waiting for another meeting if we didn't need to. Does that require a motion? And I think it would be just a motion to allow the chairman / agent to grant approval.
Yeah, it says
On
that
behalf of the
basically
board.
in the conditions, but I agree with you. We should go ahead and vote on it.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion and second. Any other discussion?
I just want to make clear that the motion is to grant Chairman Bouchard as the agent to grant approval for the site work to proceed once he's satisfied with all information has been obtained regarding the certification and so forth.
Okay,
That's the motion.
understood. Do we have another second?
Resecond.
All right. All those in favor then, let's do it formally. Nancy,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
John,
Aye.
Josh.
Aye.
I suppose I can't vote. But motion carries. Good. All
Great.
right. Anything else?
Excellent. That's all that I've got. Thank you guys very much for
All
the
right,
time.
thank you all.
Have a good night.
All right, you too.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Scott.
everyone.
Scott.
Good to see you all again.
Thanks for your help, Scott.
Let's do this
Thanks, no
again.
problem. All right,
I'm sure we will.
all right, take
Bye-bye.
care. Good night.
All right, so long.
Bye.
All right, finally, last item on the agenda. We have a potentially new member of the commission. Nancy, do you want to discuss that?
Fred called me. Did everybody see that email with all his qualifications?
Yep.
He had called me about the road up to Betty's Neck. Everybody complains about the road up to Betty's Neck, but we don't own it. So, I was explaining that to him, and then he started telling me that he was on the Conservation Commission, and I asked him to send me something, and he did. So, I think because we've had people out, and there's been a couple of times when we had a question on the quorum by town meeting vote, our membership is 7. So I'd like to see if we could agree to ask or do we want to meet him? I guess that's it. Do we want to meet him before we ask the selectmen to appoint him, or?
We don't have any other applicants, do we?
No, we don't.
I think we're kind of limited. I'm
Because
okay.
he's very experienced, so.
Right.
Mark?
Yeah, I met him at town meeting. Seemed very nice. He's actually doesn't live too far up the road from my house. I think he'd be a good fit. But if everybody wants to meet him, that's fine too. I'm fine either way, but I do think that it would be a benefit to the board to have a full board. We've gone a long time without, and there's been very little interest. So
Given his qualifications, I don't really see that he should be interviewing us.
Well,
And
actually,
I think he's on open, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if I may, he's on open space, and he was a little worried about both. I said he could be our representative to open space. We're supposed to have one anyway, and we really don't.
yeah. Well, at this stage, it's up to the selectmen to give their blessing.
Right.
But they would need a letter of recommendation from us.
Right.
did he actually provide a letter of interest?
No, he just
No.
I had just asked him to email me, a little bit about himself, so we should ask him for a formal letter of interest, but you know what? I think I sent Leah. I CC'd her on his email to kind of show her, she's the chairman now, I believe.
That's
And,
correct.
I had copied her on his qualifications, so she would know that it was coming up. Is it enough, you think, that we just say that, ask the selectmen to appoint him?
If we're all satisfied with his qualifications, then why don't we just move ahead if you're all in agreement?
Yeah, in worst case, they may just ask for a formal letter from him, but we could
Okay.
address that if that comes up. So I agree.
They
All
might
right.
want to meet him. That they've done that before.
Well, they interviewed me
They
and
traditionally do, yeah.
so,
They did, and they still voted you on?
yeah, they overrode you guys.
Yeah, I bet they're sorry now.
Yeah.
All right.
So, should I make a motion that we ask Bob to write a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen for
Sure.
Fred to be our new conservation member?
I'll
Yes,
second
and
it.
Okay, motion seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Mark?
Aye.
Oh, that was a vote. Okay. All right. I guess that's it. Oh, one more thing. Josh, you had asked about site visits.
Yes.
I've only had a couple of brief ones the last couple of days. Nothing major has come along. But if you're still interested, I'll give you a call when the next one that comes along.
Yes, that sounds good. My workload is decreasing, so I
Good.
should have more availability.
Yeah. Is that a good thing that your load is?
I've been working 13-hour days, 6 days a week, so yeah, it's definitely a good thing.
Oh, okay. All right. Great.
Mr.
Thanks.
Chairman, I have a new business.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
from Tracy. This woman was looking for me and I called her back. Her name's Bridget Bala. So she is in one of the new houses where Highland Road hits county, the old silo and the farm and
Oh.
whatever, and the new houses in the field.
Yeah,
And she's very concerned that on her plan that she had, that I will forward to you because she sent me an email, so you have her phone number, but the wetland line goes right across her backyard from the look of it. And she wants to know what she can plant. So
Oh.
I told her I would forward it on to you and maybe you could look at the plan and maybe do a site visit. I can't. She wants to know what she can plant in the wetland. But
Lily
it's,
pads,
that line goes right across the middle of their backyard.
Yeah.
skunk cabbage, and lily pads.
about it, yeah. It's not so much what, but where.
Yeah, well, she's like kind of questioning about it going right across the back, and so.
I wonder if it's the wetland line or if it's the buffer zone that she, the
And I
100-foot line.
It's the wetland line.
It is.
Yeah.
You've looked at it.
Oh, yeah. This, remember way back,
Well, right, I do. I'm wondering how they were going to fit a house in there, but I don't remember seeing it. But it probably happened when I wasn't on.
yeah, where they actually placed the house afterwards, who knows, you know, but
And I don't think we were doing boundary markers, and that would have been a
No,
good
we
one
weren't.
to do the boundary markers on, so that they'd have an idea what they were getting into when they bought the house.
all right, I'll did
I'll
she-
forward you her contact information.
okay, all right, good, thank you.
All right. Okay.
All right. Finally, anything else? No, we're good. You're exhausted?
That was pretty good, under an hour.
Hungry.
I know. I was telling Brittany today that it used to be our meetings went till 11, 12 o'clock and we'd have 10, 12 hearings in just one night. Those days are gone.
Running out of land to build on.
I know.
Right. I never made good decisions after 11 o'clock.
Yeah, you just shut down. All right. Well, I guess that's it. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Aye.
Good. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Good night.